I have a question. Uh, can you talk about forgiveness?
No, I'm smiling because I almost in every class talk about that. But who asked the question? Oh, okay, all right. I mean, I think it's one of the most important topics in not only having a spiritual life, but just learning how to function here like a human being. Uh, People transgress, they make mistakes, they do things that are unconscious. This goes on continuously all the time, and we have to move on in our lives. And what usually happens is we grab onto these, you know, things that people do, that we do. When we do them, we feel guilt, we feel very unhappy inside. But the whole secret in doing spiritual practice is, one second, Larry, look, please don't sit there in the next class you come to because there's a constant flow of people behind you and the movement is disrupting the class. So please don't sit in this place. Go someplace where it's more private, okay? Anyway, look, the whole point of all this is moving on. The whole point of all this is opening to a more creative way of living, opening to a way of living, that really enables us to tap God, spirit, higher energy. And forgiveness is, yes, we do it because we want to forgive somebody else, but we also do it because we have to move on in life. We can't take these indiscretions and bring them into our heart and allow them to control us because they drain us of our energy. They cripple us as human beings. And, the answer to it is forgiveness, is letting go. Okay, somebody made a mistake. Somebody did something stupid. Somebody was wrong. Okay, we're all wrong, you know? And we need to move on in life. If we can't move on in life, we're stuck. And when you hold these things inside you, these resentments, this revenge, anger inside you, it keeps you from ever moving on in your life, from ever getting closer to God, from ever having a spiritual life. And the answer to it is you got to be strong enough inside to forgive other people, to forgive yourself, simply because you can't get stuck in a kind of a syndrome of revenge and anger and wanting to hurt somebody else. And that energy takes over, that negative energy takes over one's inner life, and it makes it impossible to have a spiritual life. It also creates the madness that goes on in the world. And if people in the Middle East would just sit down over a table and say, okay, we blew it. Why should more people get killed? Let's just forgive each other. Let's have economics. Let's have a better way of everybody living. Same thing in the Ukraine or anywhere, in the world where, it's a matter of learning, being big enough inside to say, okay, it's enough. Let's move on. Let's find a way of forgiving each other. Let's finally admit that the lack of forgiveness doesn't work. It just makes life worse. It truly makes life worse. So forgiveness is really essential. I mean, look, I always say it, in the Bible, I mean, Christ has just been pinned to a cross. And what does he say? Is where forgive them, they know not what they do. It's the most profound thing ever written. And if people who are Christian and Jewish and Muslim and would just listen and say, okay, let's forgive instead of taking revenge, the world can move on. People stop getting killed. But it takes a really big person to do this. It takes somebody, the nature of Christ and the Buddha, that level of consciousness to be suffering like unbelievable. So, and then to say, forgive them, they know not what they do. And it's true. Conscious people don't do these things. Conscious people don't kill each other. Conscious people don't hurt each other. Conscious people have compassion, they have love, there's joy in their hearts. And the key to all of it is to forgive. Now, I know this isn't easy if somebody has a gun in your face and is ready to shoot you. But at the same time, at some point, people have to get big enough to say, this doesn't work. This just doesn't work. What works? Compassion works. Empathy works. Love works. I mean, also, I'm not naive, and you have 8 billion people in this world, and they all have minds ticking away, and everybody has things wrong with them, and problems, and anxiety, and tension. And people need to do some kind of deep inner practice that enables them to transform themselves so that they can forgive and they can live with compassion and love. I mean, it kind of breaks your heart what goes on in the world. And it's small people doing small things and hurting each other. That's what it's all about. All these politicians, they're just these kind of Lilliputians. Did you ever read Jonathan Swift's book? They're like Lilliputians, greedy little power-hungry Lilliputians that just do nothing but hurt each other and hurt other people. They're not big people. They're not people with big hearts and big visions of life, compassionate people. Anyway, I don't want to I'm not a preacher, you bring up forgiveness, and it's something that the world needs to learn. Does
Thank you.
anyone else? You're welcome. Does anyone else have a question?
Stuart,
Yes.
following on the topic of forgiveness, what about a scenario in which trust has been violated with someone and you forgive them, but you feel the need to communicate how their actions made you feel, and you're uncertain about what kind of relationship to have with that person, if at all, going forward?
Look, just forgive them and find out, I mean, let it go. Trust that if you forgive them, you're going to be able to move on in your life. Maybe that person doesn't belong in your life. Maybe you'll never even understand why they did what they do. Maybe they will never change. I don't know. But all I know is that if you forgive them, at least you can move on in your life. If you have to interact with them, if it's a business thing, if it's a family thing, if it's something like that, do it, but do it with forgiveness. Don't be angry at them. Remember, people do unconscious things because they're unconscious people. And we have to learn to be bigger than that by learning how to say, I forgive them because I forgive them because I need to work with them. I need to have some kind of communication with them. And if there's anger in my heart, I will never have communication with them. And then it doesn't matter what the hell they do. You learn how to be big enough to detach yourself from it and not allow it yourself to take it personally. I mean, I had so many situations. Like there's one that I used to talk about where, I mean, it wasn't a major situation, but when I was a kid, then I used to hear Rudy talk about this stuff, and I used to work in bars and restaurants, and there were people that were very difficult people that I had to work around and be around all the time. And I'll never forget, there was a particular bartender. Never forget this. This became like a metaphor for forgiveness for me, who I could not go there and ask him for a whiskey sour without getting into a fight with him. I just, the vibration was so terrible, we would fight. And one day I'm standing at the bar and he's talking to one of the waiters about how he's going to meet his girlfriend at midnight and they're going to have a midnight dinner together. And my ears, I said, my God, there's somebody who loves this guy. This woman must be a saint. She loves him. She can get into bed with him, goes out and has midnight breakfast with this guy. She has found something positive in him to be around him. It changed my whole way of looking at that person. And from that point on, I never had another argument with him again. We even started talking to each other. Something in me changed by hearing that there was somebody in this world who loved this person. It changed me, and I began to see him differently. And when I began to see him differently, it became possible for me to communicate. There's spirit, there's the seed of God in every single human being, or they wouldn't be alive. Some people are really difficult. But if you get big enough inside and get strong enough inside, you can see that seed of God in another human being. You can respect it, communicate with them, and forgive them, and trust them. It doesn't mean you have to hang out with them the rest of your life. You don't have to, but something allows you to move on in a situation. I mean, I had it, my God, one of the reasons I was in business, I used to enjoy making money and living well and doing all those things. It was nice, but it also put me up against some of the most terrible things I ever had to deal with in my life. The kinds of people I used to meet in the business world. And in order for me to do business, I had to get stronger than all that stuff. Otherwise, I would have just walked away. Said, the hell with this. I had to get stronger than people's lack of consciousness. I had to stop judging them. I had to forgive what they did so I could interact with them and deal with them and find a way to make the situation work. It wasn't them, it was me. I had to get bigger. I don't know if they ever got bigger. I got bigger and I made situations work. I really mean that. It was an incredible lesson from God being in business like that, because I had no choice. And I'm telling you, I had to deal with people. It was like Raiders of the Lost Ark, the kinds of people I had to deal with in the business I was in. But I had to get bigger. And if I didn't get bigger, it would have never worked. I didn't become friends with most of those people, but I had to interact with them. And the only way it could work was not expecting them to change. I had to change. I had to become bigger. I had to get more open inside, more, forgiving for the crazy things these people used to do. I mean, I don't think anybody says business is a spiritual situation, but I can tell you 30 years of being in business made me grow enormously. With the bullshit I had to deal with and the people I had to deal with, I had no choice but to grow and to go to the one place I could get the energy to deal with it all. And it was from God, from spirit, a bigger chakra system, more highly developed chakra system. So it's not the other person, it's us. The other person is a reflection of the disease that is within each and every one of us. If we change, we'll be able to deal with that. We're not going to be trapped by somebody else's craziness. It's God teaching us. I hope this is clear. I mean, I'm giving you years of experience of what I went through. And yes, it was a fun business and a crazy business, but it taught me so much about me having to change and not expecting the outside world to change, because it's not going to unless people work on themselves. I can tell you worse stories, spiritual, with people that are supposed to be spiritual and swamis. And, the politics of spirituality is a nightmare like you could never believe. I really mean this. The politics of spirituality, the jealousy, the one-upsmanships, all the bullshit that goes on. It's like nothing. You got to get really strong in order to just say, it's enough. I don't need to have this in my life. I can't expect people to function a certain way if they're not going to. I have to grow up. I have to get stronger. I have to get to a place where I'm detached from all of that stuff and make my life work. Does anyone else have a question? Wow, I'd like to ask. I hope it's clear what I'm talking. What I'm really the bottom line of all of this. Okay, it's life that is the teacher, and life is showing each and every one of us exactly where we need to grow inside ourselves. It sends us all these people to teach us what we have to do to grow inside ourselves. Life is the guru. We need to get strong enough to listen to it and let it teach us. And it brings us so many situations that we blame the objective world. And it's us that attracts all that because we need to change inside, get strong enough to be able to deal with it. Does anyone else have a question? Thank you for great questions today. My God. God bless you all. Thank you. So, I mean, my next writings that I'm put, I don't know if any of you read these writings that I put there, but I'm enjoying them and I'm writing them, and my God, they're getting good. And the next three that I'm posing is a lot to do about this, what I've been talking about today. So you might go there and read these things, and they might be something that can help you understand profoundly that life is the teacher all the time. My job is to get everybody strong enough to be able to sit in front of life. That's my job. I'm not the guru. I'm the guru's assistant. Does anyone else have a question they would like to ask? Okay, thank you. God bless you all. There will be a class on Thursday. Hopefully I'll see you all. And God bless you for being here, for being in my life, for allowing the guru's assistant to do what he does, because he's learning also. So thank you, and God bless you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Steve.